4 students, 4 vibrant young lives, were fatally stabbed as they slept in their quiet rental house in Moscow, Idaho. This brutal slaughter shattered a town that had not seen a murder in years, launching a complex investigation that spanned state lines and utilized cutting-edge forensic science. For weeks, there were no suspects, only a few crucial clues: a mysterious white car, an eyewitness, and foreign DNA left on a knife sheath. The hunt for justice ultimately led investigators to a chilling revelation. The suspect was a doctoral student specializing in criminology, a person who understood the mechanisms of the justice system better than most.
I loved Kaylee. She was honestly such an amazing friend. We were very close.
Kaylee was the middle of 5. She was very competitive. She was very spontaneous. You could wake her up in the middle of the night and say, hey, pack your bags, we're going to Mexico in the morning. And she would be like, are you serious? Let's go.
I knew Maddie really well. I hired Maddie for her first big girl internship. She would tell me. I miss her potential and her sweetness and this grounded energy that she really made people feel seen, and like what they were doing mattered and made a difference.
Xana was beautiful. She was always smiling. There's this video we found where she's just spinning in a 360 with this huge smile. And you just want to know that person because she was just full of life.
Ethan was an incredible kid. I mean, I don't know if we could have done a better job.
He loved everybody and everybody loved him. Everybody wanted to be around him. You know, he's just that guy that, when he walked into the room or on the basketball floor or the soccer field, everybody just, that's where you wanted to be. You wanted to be with Ethan.
Moscow, Idaho, was the epitome of a safe, quiet college town. The large rental house at 1122 King Road was a hub of student life, home to 6 young people: Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Dylan Mortensen, and Bethany Funk. The night of November 12th was an ordinary Saturday. Kaylee and Maddie were downtown at the Corner Club. Ethan and Xana were at a nearby fraternity. All 4, along with their roommates, returned home in the early hours of Sunday morning. The final confirmed outside contact arrived shortly thereafter, a food delivery for Xana. The housemates settled into their rooms across the 3 floors, believing they were secure. Investigators believe the brutal attack occurred shortly after the final food delivery. The killer entered the house through the sliding glass door on the main floor, likely finding it unlocked. The attack was swift, silent, and ferociously violent. The scene of the crime was focused on the upper floors. On the 3rd floor, Kaylee and Maddie were found deceased in Maddie's bed. On the 2nd floor, Xana and Ethan were found in Xana's room. Evidence suggested Xana bravely fought her attacker. All 4 victims died from severe stab wounds, indicating a massive and aggressive weapon was used. The 2 surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, were in their rooms when the terror unfolded. Bethany, on the basement level, seemingly heard nothing. Dylan, however, became the case's most critical witness. In the early morning hours, Dylan woke up and heard sounds, crying and a male voice. She briefly texted housemates, urging quiet. Then, a few moments later, she opened her door and saw him, a male figure in all black, wearing a mask. The only features she clearly recalled were his eyes and particularly striking bushy eyebrows. The man walked silently past her and exited the rear sliding door. Overwhelmed by shock and fear, Dylan locked herself back in her room. The entire tragedy had lasted mere moments. The single most contentious fact of the case remains the long period of time that elapsed between the attack and the 911 call. It was not until late morning that Dylan and Bethany called friends to the house, worried about one of the unresponsive roommates. Eventually, police arrived and discovered the horrifying reality of the quadruple homicide.
As an investigator, you're securing that item to preserve whatever is on there, be it a fingerprint, a hair, DNA, blood, sweat, anything. A DNA profile was obtained from the sheath. Significant development in the case. Huge nuclear bomb.
The immediate aftermath was chaotic, but investigators quickly established control. The forensic team discovered the most pivotal piece of evidence on the third floor, next to one of the victims, a leather knife sheath bearing the U.S. Marine Corps logo. On that sheath, forensic experts isolated touch DNA skin cells left behind by the killer that was not one of the victims. This single genetic profile was the investigative nuclear bomb, instantly pointing to an unidentified perpetrator. Simultaneously, the investigation launched a massive digital search, focusing on a suspicious vehicle captured by surveillance systems, a white Hyundai Elantra. Vehicle identification: surveillance footage from multiple locations showed a white Elantra circling the King Road neighborhood several times in the hours leading up to the murders. The car was later seen speeding away from the area shortly after the attack. The Pullman connection: the search for the car led investigators across state lines to the neighboring town of Pullman, Washington, home to Washington State University, WSU. Campus police located the matching vehicle parked at an apartment complex. The car was registered to Bryan Kohberger, a doctoral, Ph.D., student in criminology at WSU. This discovery linked the physical evidence, the car, to an individual, adding a sinister. Kohberger's academic profile instantly raised alarming questions. He was academically obsessed with the very subjects that defined his eventual crime: DNA, forensic crime science, and the study of how criminals leave or fail to leave evidence behind. The idea that a student of crime could become a perpetrator of such violence was deeply unsettling. Digital analysis of Kohberger's life quickly established a pattern of activity linking him to the crime area. One phone tracking records showed Kohberger's phone had been detected in the general area of the King Road house at least 12 times in the months preceding the murders, strongly suggesting stalking or surveillance. 2. The critical silence: on the night of the attack, Kohberger's phone was deliberately deactivated for a crucial period spanning the time of the murders. The phone was reactivated only when he was clearly traveling away from Moscow and back toward Washington state. This conscious attempt to evade cellular tracking was a sophisticated tactic. Investigators needed a direct, court-admissible DNA sample. Instead of confronting him directly, investigators employed a clever legal strategy while Kohberger was staying with his parents in Pennsylvania for winter break. 1. Covert collection: the FBI and state police obtained a warrant to search for and seize discarded trash from the Kohberger family home. 2. Familial link: from the trash, analysts recovered a biological sample later confirmed to be the DNA of his father. 3. Scientific match: by comparing the father's DNA profile, a close relative, to the unknown DNA on the knife sheath, analysts established a near certain link: 99.9998% probability that the touch DNA on the sheath belonged to the son, Bryan Kohberger. The accumulation of evidence: the car, the phone records, the eyewitness description, and the irrefutable DNA link provided the necessary probable cause for arrest.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Goncalves, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Weeks after the murders, a SWAT team from the Pennsylvania State Police executed the arrest warrant at the Kohberger family home. He was apprehended and subsequently extradited back to Idaho to face justice. Kohberger was formally charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, alleging premeditation and malice. 1 count of felony burglary, for entering the house with the intent to commit a crime. In court, Kohberger entered a not guilty plea. However, the legal gravity of the case was immediately raised when the prosecutor's office announced their intention to seek the death penalty against Bryan Kohberger. This decision immediately transformed the case into a capital case, introducing severe legal scrutiny and a complex, lengthy judicial path. Kohberger's defense team has launched a vigorous, multifaceted challenge to the prosecution's evidence. Challenging DNA methodology, the defense has aggressively questioned the chain of custody and the scientific validity of the genetic genealogy and familial matching techniques used, seeking to suppress the most damaging piece of evidence. The alibi and doubt, the defense will attempt to discredit the circumstantial nature of the evidence, arguing that the phone and car data are too vague to place Kohberger at the exact location of the murders and that his whereabouts during the critical period are uncertain. Alternative perpetrator, in a common legal strategy for capital cases, the defense is attempting to introduce the possibility of an alternative perpetrator to create reasonable doubt among the jury. The eyewitness, the defense will likely challenge the reliability of the eyewitness identification, arguing that Dylan's brief sighting of the attacker, whose face was masked, is insufficient for identification. The judicial process for a capital murder case in Idaho is slow and meticulous. Every piece of evidence, every witness statement, and every legal procedure must be meticulously reviewed to ensure fairness, given the stakes.
The main reason I'm up here today is so that everybody can understand what we lost. Because we lost 4 beautiful souls.
When I would meet people, they say, you know, tell me about yourself. And the first thing I'd say is, well, I have this daughter and she's, you know, here's a picture of her. She's on the dean's list at the college.
It's hard that we are without these 4 beautiful kids with us tonight. We are eternally grateful that we spent so much time with him. And I want to remind you that that's the most important message that we have for you and your families, is to make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people, because time is precious and it's something you can't get back.
Through all this, I hope we can all look through that dark tunnel and see the light and follow that light. And I pray that we have justice someday.
The ultimate act of justice will rely on the prosecution's ability to seamlessly weave together the forensic, digital, and eyewitness evidence into an indisputable narrative of guilt. For the families of Maddie, Ethan, Kaylee, and Xana, the fight is not just for a verdict, but for the final, definitive answer about why their loved ones were taken in such a horrific way. The trial is set to be one of the most dramatic and forensically intense legal battles in modern true crime history.